Hello and welcome to another doll repainting video on my channel. This is a little pink fawn. I saw this picture of a makeup on Instagram and I got inspired. So for this face up, I'm using a Claudine Wolf doll and I'm gonna remove her hair by cutting it as close to the scalp as possible. Oh, hello there, little kitten. I'm going to cut off her ears using a very sharp blade. Then some acetone to remove the factory paint. And she has some flocking on her hair, so I'm going to soak it in with acetone, and this is going to help it unstick from the head. But it's very crucial that you soak it, because if you keep rubbing it, it will take forever. Kind of like I'm taking right now. So I'm squishing the head around just to get into those hard to get corners. I'm going to pull out all the hair plugs from inside the head. Then I'm taking some tape and I'm wrapping it around my finger so I can reroot her, and this will protect my skin from the needle because it takes hours of jabbing and jabbing. I created my own rerooting tool and I'm going to reroot her with some pink hair. The holes from her ears, I just covered them with a little bit of tape, and then I'm putting some silicone-based glue just to keep the hairs in place after she's finished so I can secure them. So I'm going to move on to her dress, and I chose this lacy yellow fabric and this felt and this velour, like crashed velour, I don't know how to explain it, pink fabric. I'm going to make her a little t-shirt. For the top of the dress. I've left some seam allowance, and as for the skirt, I'm using this beautiful, it's more like a trim, I would say. I cut it a little bit shorter, and then I'm going to pass the needle through just to make it more ruffly. Now that our hair is all down and I boiled washed her and it's all dry, I'm going to add some magnets so I can stick the little horns there so they're easily removable. I'm taking pink Fimo Kids, which is polymer clay, and I prefer the Kids because it's so much more softer and easier to work. I'm going to make a pocket for the other part of the magnet, then I'm going to pop it out because if you stick it in the oven, it loses its power and it's not magnetic anymore. So I'm creating her little horns. Here they are, and I've already heated them in the oven. And I want to make them sparkle a little bit, so I'm adding some glitter with some high gloss varnish. And I'm just going to paint over them. I had made some holes because I wanted to put beads, but that didn't work. So I'm gluing the magnets in place in the little pockets that I've created. Oh, and there's 4 horns because I was working on 2 dolls at the same time. So for shoes, I took this Draculaura shoes, some turquoise mint pastel acrylic paint, and I'm painting over them. And then with high gloss varnish, just to secure that paint, and some glitter, I'm going over them. Taking my pastels, I'm just going to start blushing the face and contouring with a little bit of brown around the nose. And I have already primed her with Mr. Super Clear, and this will give me the paper-like texture so my materials will grab on the plastic of the doll, or else it wouldn't. And while you're spraying Mr. Super Clear, don't forget to wear a mask because that's what I did today, and I inhaled it and I got very dizzy and it's highly toxic. So I'm taking brown and I'm starting to shape the eyes. I always like to go with brown first, or a very light color, because if I make a mistake, it's much easier to erase it than black. So working on the eyes. And here's my basic shape. I'm going to start shading around the eyes using some brown pastels. And I always have this soft eraser just to fix any problems and remove any excess pastel. As for her lips, I'm going for a pink color, and I'm just contouring them again and blending the two colors together by layering them on the same layer of Mr. Super Clear, if that makes sense. Highlighting. And as for the crease, I would say, of the lips, just to get in there, I use watercolor with a very thin brush, so I can perfectly get in there, shade without being too much, and making it perfect. So I'm working on the eyes now, and I decided to go for a brown color. And again, I'm using the same technique of kind of blending the two colors together and mixing them. And this, I think, was my first round of Mr. Super Clear. I prefer like to do everything on the first layer, and then while I add more Mr. Super Clear, layer the colors over and over again for intensity. But I want to get all the shapes on the face from the first layer. This way I don't have to waste spray by adding one feature at a time. And as for the eyebrows, the first layer, I did them with pastel. And then on the second layer of Mr. Super Clear, I'm going to go in with the pencil to draw on each individual hair one by one, to make them look more realistic and give them a little bit more dimension. Now I'm highlighting a little bit under her brow bone. And again, I'm using soft pastels, but in the shape of a pencil. Again, I have to repeat everything as the dust from the pastels faded my colors a little bit. Then I'm taking acrylic paint and the thinnest brush I have, and I'm going to draw some freckles on her face. And basically, I'm just dotting on her. That's it. I want to add some sparkle on her eyes, so I'm taking some micro glitter and my high gloss varnish, and I'm adding it on the iris of the eye. Then some glitter on her eyelid just to give her some extra sparkle. Glossing her lips, and I'm also going to add some micro glitter on it. I also put the catch lights on her eyes using acrylic. Then once they're dry, I'm putting high gloss varnish on them and some extra on the lips because I want them extra glossy. And here's where I added the micro glitter, and they look a little bit more like metallic, but it kind of looks cute. So that's her final look for her face up. I'm just gonna pop the head back on the body, glue her eyelashes on, and I used crystal glue, and I added some flowers to the little horns, and there she is. She's ready. The only thing that I think doesn't match as well is the shoes. Maybe I'll change them. What do you think? I'll leave my Instagram below so you guys can follow me.